Today I'll be sharing the books I read in the months of April, May, and June. Welcome to my second quarter wrap up. Let's get started. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's Rachel here. As always, hit that subscribe button so you never miss a thing. You can also like this video so that it is fair to other viewers as well. Not you can like this video so that it is fair to other viewers as well. And if you've been here for a while, you can click that notification button so that you get one every time I drop a new video. So getting straight into today's video, I'm going to be sharing the books that I read in April, May, and June. The second quarter for me was a very funny one, very funny and unpredictable. Like, there were times when I was reading a lot and there were times when I wouldn't read anything for weeks. So it was just up and down generally. I'm quite behind on my reading goals for the year, but I'm having a good reading experience because I've been mixing up genres, I've been mixing up formats of books. I've been reading quite a number of audiobooks and I'm enjoying them. I've had really nice audiobook experiences so far, especially in the second quarter. I read hard copy books as well, and I also read e-copy books as well. I read some graphic novels. So I've been mixing things up and just having a good time as well. So I'm not necessarily paying attention to how many books I'm reading, but more like the quality of my reading experience, which I'm pleased with. I still have a reading goal of the number of books that I want to read by the end of the year, and I'm paying close attention to that. But at the same time, I'm also just trying to have a good time as I read. So getting straight into it, in April, I started off with some lovely romance books. I have some of the books that I have in hard copy I'm going to be showing you guys. So in April, I started off with some lovely romance books. It seems so far away since I read these books. I started off with Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. I totally enjoyed a romance book. Chloe Brown, she's some computer geek who falls in love with this guy who she doesn't really like at the beginning. I think he's a house manager, Redford, that kind of thing. A really nice, easy to just get into romance book, such a page turner. I finished it in a couple of days and I really did enjoy. I did a joint review on this book and the next book in the Brown Sisters series, and you guys can check that out on my YouTube channel. So I really did enjoy this one. Chloe's not really my favorite sister. I'm coming to who my favorite sister is and my favorite character is in a bit. Next, I read Take a Hint, Danny Brown, also by Talia Hibbert. This book I totally loved, maybe because I fell in love with a fictional character and I realized that I needed help, but I didn't really want help because Zaf was like a proper hunk. Zaf is a proper hunk and I stand by it any day, anytime. I'm madly in love with Zaf. I love the exploration of the characters. I felt like Talia Hibbert really did like a one-up from Get a Life, Chloe Brown into this book, and I feel like this was my favorite so far between the two of them. I totally enjoyed. Also a feel-goody romance kind of book that would just get you into your feelings with a guaranteed happy ending, because this life can be crazy and sometimes you just need to escape in between the pages of a romance novel, and Talia Hibbert's Take a Hint, Danny Brown did that for me. I totally liked. You can go and check out my reviews on those two books. Next up, in the month of April, I read The Mountains Sing by Nguyen Phan Kier Mai. This book was recommended by the Indulgent Bibliophile Book Club, and I had gotten this book earlier around my birthday period when somebody gifted it to me, and wow, I really love this book. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it because I did an independent book review on it, so you guys can check that out. But this book was absolutely mind-blowing. It followed generational story of the Tran family during the Vietnam War, the Great Hunger, and a lot of other things. I learned so much from this book. It's a beautiful historical fiction novel that just captures a lot of things that happened with Vietnamese. After this book, I was so encouraged to go and do some more research, which I also shared on my social media, just about the Vietnamese War, the things that happened, the effects that are still long lasting even on a lot of Vietnamese people today, carried out by some of the governments of other countries, you know, that have really affected them till date. this was such an amazing book. I was privileged to sit in on the Indulgent Bibliophiles book club meet, where the author was actually able to explain her process in writing the book and everything that led up to this book. By the way, she spent like 7 years writing this book, and I thought that it was simply amazing. This is one of those 5-star books that you just can't help. It took you on a journey, and you can go and check out my review on that for more, so that I don't waste too much time on it. Next up, in the month of April, I read Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. I was rushing to read this book because it was going to come out on Netflix, the adaptation, and I had never heard about Leigh Bardugo until like a couple of weeks before the adaptation came out. I never heard about Shadow and Bone series. I read fantasy, but not that much that I would say, yeah, I've read a lot of fantasy, except when I was growing up and I read the Harry Potter series and I totally loved it. So I'm not like, oh, I don't read fantasy. I just don't read a lot of it in comparison to people that read a whole lot of it. So I decided to pick this up. I read it ahead of that, thinking that I'll be able to finish the series and be able to watch the adaptation. Can you believe that till now I still haven't watched the adaptation on Netflix? Maybe because I thought I had to finish the 3 before I read it, until someone told me there's also another set of books that you have to read before you watch the adaptation. Eventually I got tired and I've not watched the adaptation till now, which is so crazy. But I read this book. It follows the life of Alina Starkov, who is a soldier, and her regiment is attacked while they're crossing the Shadow Folds, and basically she finds that she has power. There's this magic that she finds that she had, which she never knew that she had, and there's a lot of things that happen after that. It's like action-packed. It's really nice, a nice page turner. I didn't think it was particularly mind-blowing when I was done with it, but I was more interested to see how it was adapted into the Netflix adaptation, which of course I still haven't read till now. And guess what? I still haven't read the second and third one, and I don't know if I'm going to read it, to be honest with you, because I felt like the book was okay, but it was just there. Like I didn't really know how to feel about it. It was just there. It didn't blow my mind. It didn't make me feel like, let me go. I started the second one, but then along the way I'm like, yeah, whatever. So maybe I might actually go into it. I don't know, you guys. If you've read this book, let me know in the comments if it's something that I should continue. Let me know how I can get into the whole Netflix whatever. Just let me know. I need help on that, because those 2 books are just sitting on my shelf, and I'm always scared when I put books on my shelf because they're going to be there for like 100 gazillion years and I'm not going to have touched them. Moving on to the month of May, I started off rereading Trevor Noah's Born a Crime. This time I had some tabs on the book because there were some important things I had gotten from it. As usual, I was guaranteed to have an amazing time all over again reading Trevor Noah's book, and this book is such a great one. I think I read it first in 2018 and I was excited to reread it again. I'm also looking to reread quite a number of books this year, and you can check out my video on that one that I put up on my YouTube channel. And this is Trevor Noah's Born a Crime and Other Stories. It explores his life in early childhood when he grew up in South Africa during the apartheid regime, how he was born a crime. You understand why the title of the book is that way, the valuable lessons that he learned along the way in terms of growing up on racism, injustice, you know, segregation, and a lot of things that he had to experience or watch his family experience while he was growing up and into his early years. And of course, you know, Trevor Noah is funny, he's witty, he's very intelligent. I'm such a huge fan of Trevor Noah, so anything he's doing, I'm on it, like literally. And I thought that this book was such an exceptional one. I may put up a 2-minute review on it. I may put up a 2-minute take on it. I don't know, because I'd already done a written review on my blog, but we'll see how it goes. So yeah, I enjoyed that. Next up, I listened to the guest list on audiobook by Lucy Foley. I really enjoyed this book, you guys. I thought that it was a lovely read. I totally enjoyed it. I thought that the characters did a great job in terms of presenting the book and bringing the books to life. Now, this is one of the books that I had started with this year, and I was excited in terms of audiobook experiences. I've had quite a number of nice audiobook experiences this year, and this book was just one of them. I love the storyline, even if I feel like as if, of course, with all these thrillers, they usually leave everything to like the last 5 to 10 chapters, but like the whole book was like the last 5 to 10 chapters. But I thought that it had a very crazy climax. Like it had me screaming like, hey, way. And I was just like walking around the house listening to it and screaming up and down, because I'm like, oh my goodness. But I totally enjoyed it. I wonder if it will be made into some form of Netflix adaptation, since most of these ones are these days. But if you've listened to it or you read it, let me know. But the audiobook was a lovely experience. I thought that the characters and the performers characters, did a great job in bringing the characters to life. It was so character driven, and I totally enjoyed. Next up, I listened to Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough, another lovely one, because I stumbled on the Netflix adaptation and I'm like, nope, I'm going to either read this book or listen to it before I go into the Netflix adaptation. You guys can check out my review on that book. The end of that book had me like, what? And then when I went and watched the adaptation, I was like, yeah, this is an adaptation come to life. I had a few reservations on it, which I shared in my video. You guys can go and check that out. But all in all, I had a lovely time listening to this audiobook. It was so good. My next read in the month of May was The Gift of Imperfection by Brené Brown. I finished this book literally in one sitting or two sittings, I can't remember, but it was like, the prints are really big, and I think this is the 10th anniversary edition, so this book has been there for a while. In this book, you know, she just talks about, this is non-fiction, and she talks about, you know, just owning your story, being authentic, showing up, embracing imperfections. Like, a lot of things that she spoke about were not particularly novel, but it's one of those books that if you pick up when you're looking for something to speak to you, then this is that book. And I thought that it was such a great read. So if you're looking for something to just, you know, teach you how to embrace your imperfection, how to show up, how to be courageous, how to let go of shame or guilt. Just there was that emphasis on the courage, you know, authenticity, letting go of scarcity mentality, embracing gratitude and joy. I learned so many valuable lessons from this book, and if it's something that you're looking to read, then this is a good one for you. It's non-fiction, and well, people may call it self-help, but I think that it was just a lovely read that may speak to you depending on what you need at this time in life. Next up in May, I read What the Dog Saw and Other Adventures by Malcolm Gladwell. You guys can check out my 2-minute takes on this book. I totally enjoyed it. We selected it as our book club pick of the month of May, and we discussed it first week of June in the Readers Hub book club, and I totally enjoyed it. We've selected other books by Malcolm Gladwell, but I mean, they're sitting on my shelf. I've not gotten to read them, but then this one, I started it and I was like, yes, I have to pick it up and I have to finish it, because I didn't finish it as at the time of the book club meet, but afterwards I read it and I totally enjoyed it. And in this book, Malcolm Gladwell, he breaks down like intellectual adventure stories that are very intentionally and beautifully written. It's a collection of what I would call short stories, but there are articles that he wrote rather, I think for a particular magazine, or was it the New York Times or something like that, over a span of period of time. And he takes the most simple things in life, things like ketchup, things like dog whispering, things like, you know, some simple things that you don't really think about in the process behind the scenes of making them. The whole L'Oreal thing, how the motto and the log line came about, the whole because you're worth it. Like, there's so much research and there's so much that he does into bringing this subject into life, and I totally liked it. Like, I love the psychological experiments, all the things that went into it, and I thought that he did such a great job. So if you're looking for something like this, then this book is totally for you. A great non-fiction recommendation that is just guaranteed to teach you so much and just bring the most, you know, mundane things in life to life. Next up in the month of May, I read A Woman Is No Man by Ita From. I thought that this book was lovely. I listened to it on script. It was an audiobook, beautiful audiobook experience for me. I thought that the characters were well performed by the people. The accents were on point. I felt like it immersed, like it explained so much, even in terms of what was going on in the world recently with the whole Israeli-Palestine thing. And it gave that backdrop. Even if I think this book was written quite a couple of years ago, it made me think about so much. I loved the main characters, Ezra and Dea, her daughter, and how they brought these characters to life, how the role of a woman was repeatedly like emphasized in the society, and how that applies across so many countries. It's not just the Middle East, or it's not just like according to religion what Muslims go through. It's a whole lot. It goes beyond that. It was such a heartbreaking, touching read, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, I learned a lot from it about societal traditions, culture, and learned quite a lot that I was not really familiar with in terms of even religion as well. But I thought that the author did a fantastic job. It was a really nice listen or read, depending on how you want to classify it. Then in June, I read His Only Wife by Peace Adzo Medie. I totally liked this book. I've done a review on it, so you guys can check that out. This was a nice read, learned so much. I rated it a 4/5, and I thought that it was really good job done by the author. Next up, in the month of June, I listened to an audiobook called All Along You Were Blooming by Morgan Harper Nichols. I follow Morgan Harper Nichols on Instagram. I love her art. I love her words. I love the way she's able to use her gift to just inspire and uplift people, and that book was such a therapeutic experience for me. Like, I literally found myself purging, myself of so much. I felt so light after listening to it. And she just divided the book into 4 parts, for the mind, for the body, for the soul, for the heart. There was just so much from each section to pick from, and I really did enjoy it. Then I read World of Archie, a comic book, and this is like a compilation of comics from the 90s, early 90s, and things that we must have read when we were kids. Oh my goodness, it threw me back in time, and I totally enjoyed it. I finished reading it. It's like a graphic novel. If you don't know Archie comics, then I really don't know what to do with you, because wow, oh my goodness, really wow. So it was really nice. I just remember how much then Betty and Veronica's fighting over Archie seemed like the greatest thing in the world. Like, then you'll be like, oh my goodness, these ones, they're always fighting about him. I don't know, everything just seemed so exaggerated when you're younger. It seemed so exaggerated back then, and just picking up the book to read, it's like, yeah, okay, this is nice, this is a different form. I was like, okay, yeah, okay. So I had a very, very good experience with this one. So that's it, guys. Thank you for watching. Those were the books that I read in the months of April, May, June. Let me know how your second quarter went in the comments. If you've read any of these books, let me know in the comments. If whatever you read, let me know. I need to add to my TBR and buy more books and nurture this disease that I have for buying more books without having finished the ones on my shelf. So please help me out, because at this point I don't want to be saved anymore. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.